Hello and welcome to Snow Country Stories Japan. I'm your host, Peter Carnell, a tour guide and writer based in Nagano, and this is a podcast all about life and travel in Japan's legendary Yukiguni. For today's episode, we head back to Niigata Prefecture for a conversation I am really happy to be sharing with you. Today, I speak with Shoko Baba about one of the Snow Country's and Japan's best sake breweries, Hakkaisan. Located in the heavy snow area of Minami Unama, Hakkaisan Brewery produces high-quality sake that utilizes that snowfall, the pristine surrounding environment, and traditions of this beautiful area of Niigata. This is the first episode in which we delve into the world of sake, and it won't be the last. It's a fundamental part of life in Japan, and especially in Niigata, which boasts the most sake breweries of any prefecture in the country. We discuss Hakkaisan's wonderful sake, beer, and their excellent facility you can visit in Minami Unama, along with their projects in Hokkaido and abroad. It's an exciting time for Hakkaisan Brewery, and I'm hugely grateful to them and especially Shoko for agreeing to speak with me. Minami Unama is known throughout Japan for its heavy snow, high-quality rice, and sake. Appreciation of its sake pedigree, along with its enticing food culture, mountains, snow and ski resorts, its rugged coastline, seafood catchments and traditional ways of living that developed in order to sustain communities in the heavy snowfall, identifies Niigata as one of Japan's most rewarding prefectures to visit. The brewery takes its name from Mount Hakkai, or Hakkaisan. Considered sacred, Hakkaisan stands 1,778 meters, around 5,835 feet in height, and offers fantastic hiking from June to November, while in winter, it is known for its big dumps of powder. Muikemachi Hakkaisan Ski Resort rises up the mountain and is less than 15 minutes drive from Hakkaisan Brewery. A true powder mountain, the resort is best suited to upper intermediate and advanced boarders and skiers, and when visited in combination with the brewery, and when that powder is pumping, then it's happy days. Listen on after my chat with Shoko for more information about the ski resort. Always happy to talk about Hakkaisan, its sake, its beer, and its powder. More information, images, and links to everything we discuss, including Hakkaisan's website, and of course that all-important map showing you where in the Snow Country we are today, is on the episode page of the Snow Country Stories Japan website, snowcountrystories.com. Links are also in the show notes. This episode is the last of Season 2 of the podcast. As always, a big thank you to everyone who is listening. I'll be taking a short break and returning with Season 3 in late March or possibly the beginning of April. I'll announce the return date as soon as possible. And in the meantime, I won't go away completely as I'll be uploading some bonus episodes. Look out for those and Season 3 of the pod, in which we'll be focusing on the green season in the Snow Country with more talk of food and drink, national parks, festivals, making a life here, and of course, even more snow talk. I hope you enjoy. My guest on the podcast today is Shoko Baba, a member of the international sales team of one of Japan's most celebrated sake breweries, Hakkaisan. Shoko, thank you for speaking with me today. How are you and where are you speaking from?
Hi, Peter. Thanks for having me today. I am from Chiba, Japan, where my comfortable home.
If in case anyone's not aware, Chiba is just to the south of Tokyo. But we're going to head north today from Tokyo, and actually north of where I am, to Hakkaisan, which is, I mentioned, a very renowned sake brewery located in Minami Unama in Niigata. Shoko, just to help listeners place that on the map, can you explain where Hakkaisan is in relation to Tokyo and other areas of Japan?
Yeah, the Uonuma is the edge of the Niigata and Nagano, which is very close to Tokyo. In the matter of 90 minutes with the Shinkansen, it's a bullet train. It's beautiful. It's surrounded by mountains and a beautiful river. It's definitely a countryside living and a lifestyle, but what they offer as a cuisine and the culture and the fresh air is nothing compares.
All of those things contribute to the production of very high quality sake, and today we're discussing the sake produced by your brewery, Hakkaisan. When was the brewery established?
Brewery was established in 1922, so we just turned 102 years old this year.
Hakkaisan is one of many breweries in Niigata Prefecture. In fact, Niigata Prefecture, if I'm correct in thinking, it is the largest producer of sake in Japan. It has the most breweries.
Yes, the actual number of active breweries are uncertain, but yes, Niigata Prefecture has the most number of active breweries still.
Shoko, is there a reason for that? Why is Niigata particularly well suited to sake production?
Yes, well, there aren't definitely the answer for it. But we believe that Niigata offers high quality water.
High quality water and obviously a lot of snowfall. And I assume the snowfall actually contributes to the production of sake. Is that correct?
Yes, absolutely. Well, particularly in the Minami Wonuma, we have tons of snow. So the water resources plenty.
In terms of sake production, water quality is really important. As you mentioned, sake is around 80% water, if my thinking is correct.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah. And this is obviously a big question, but just to help listeners get their head around the role that sake plays in Japanese culture and the culture of Niigata, how would you describe that?
In the recent years, it's the enjoyment of the everyday life. But in the old times, that Minami Wonuma is, as I said, surrounded by the mountains, and then especially in the winter time, there is tons of snow falling in down. So people are kind of stuck in your own town. And a lot of people are in a part of the sake making production. And the sake making production is pretty physical, intense work. So by the end of the day, with the hard work, having this sake that they made themselves is a kind of treat. So sake has been always by, the side of your life.
My wife is from around that area in Niigata. And really my first strong introduction to sake was going to her family home or homes of other people in the area. And there's always the big bottles of sake on the table, which are to be shared. So it's kind of central to life up there. And people are very proud of their sake.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah, well, the sake drinking habits has been changed, the recent years, but, sake has been consumed locally the most. And then, in the old times, like my grandpa's, they have their favorite bottle. And that bottle is the only bottle, and then have this magnum bottle by himself and, drinking with anything on the table. There is no food pairing concept with sake for longest time.
And again, probably a very big question, but what distinguishes Niigata sake from other regions? You mentioned obviously the high quality water.
What distinguishes Niigata sake to the other regional is the culture that Niigata has. Because we were in the snow falling area. When guest comes, we were not taking guests to the restaurant. We have our guest in our, home dining.
Yeah,
so the dinner would start from, let's say 6 o'clock until who knows when, midnight, or, who knows when the party is going to be end. So people were just eating and drinking through whole night. And if you do drink and eat whole night, your sake needs to be in a certain quality and a certain lightness. You cannot have like, let's say, California wine from beginning to the end, but you could have maybe Bourgogne, maybe, French wine, like from Bourgogne. Maybe you can drink throughout the night. So, Niigata sake is called tande karakuchi, meaning tande is like a clear, not pure, tande, it's light bodied, and karakuchi is like dry finish in your mouth. So you have to have, this kind of like light body, easy to drink, easy to pair. Otherwise you cannot drink the whole night.
And that's the point. Drink the whole night. So we've touched on a couple of times there that the area receives a lot of snow. So Shoko, how much snow does the Minami Unuma area receive each year, and how does that affect the sake brewing process?
Yeah, absolutely. The heavy snow falling. I have seen myself about like 4 meter high, which is crazy. But not every day, not every year is 4 meters, but probably in between 2 meters to 4 meters, somewhere around. Heavy snow falling is greatly affect to Hakkaisan sake brewing process, because that's the water that we use, the snow melted water, filtered through the mountain and naturally sprung.
Just on that note as well, just in case listeners aren't really familiar with the process of how sake is produced, correct me if I'm wrong here, there's basically 4 key ingredients to sake. You have water, as you're touching upon, rice, obviously that's very, very important, and it's a 2-stage fermentation process which requires the input of 2 things. One is called koji, which is a type of mold, and yeast, just like beer. So is that correct? And can you just walk me through just the very general kind of explanation of the brewing process, and how long does it typically take?
Yeah. So once we have the rice came in, we would have this rice to be polished, because the rice that we use to make sake is different from the table rice that we eat. Sake rice has the carbohydrate concentrated in the center. So we would like to have the pure concentration of carbohydration for our production. So we try to scrape as much as we can, but it really depending on the flavor and aroma that we want to have for each bottle. So starting from there, and then we have rice washing, right, and then rice steamed, and then the koji was sprinkled and cultivated on the rice, and then the rice will be dumped into the tank and started to do the sake starter with the yeast. And then we're going to take that to the main mash, big tank of, we call it moromi, mixture of rice, water, koji, and the yeast starter. And then we're going to do about 30 days of fermentation, and we will make that the batch to be rested into the other tank for about 6 to 8 months. This is really particular to Hakkaisan, this resting period. And then we're going to bottle and ship out. So from the moment that we have the brown rice to the and the product will be shipped out from our brewery will be about 1 year.
And obviously, it's a very generalized. Thank you so much. Very generalized explanation of what is quite a complex process, and that's where the skill and the mastery that comes in of the brewery itself. But just to take you back to the very start of your answer, you touched on an important point, which I think for a lot of international listeners, especially if you haven't had much experience with sake, it's worth pointing out. There's a little bit of confusion, I think, when it comes to sake, that its alcohol content is much stronger than it really is, and that becomes from the percentage on the bottle. And the percentage on the bottle, it has no relevance to alcohol. What it's marking is the percentage of rice that remains.
Right.
And the first step, as you mentioned, is the polishing or the milling of the rice down to a percentage that they want. They're removing the outer husk of the rice grain to get to the cleaner, more refined taste in the center. And so, for example, when you read, and correct me if I'm wrong here, when you read 40% on the bottle, it's nothing to do with alcohol. It's telling you that 40% of the grain remains.
Exactly.
And in theory, as that percentage is going down, the taste is getting more refined. And when it comes to alcohol content, what is the actual alcohol content of sake?
Yeah, well, natural brewing of the sake will be able to produce up to about 20% of the alcohol. But even then, we will produce the 20% of the alcohol with the alcohol fermentation. But we do design the sake to be in a certain alcohol percentage to bring the flavor and the aroma that we would like to. Adding the water is a part of the production too. So it's not just, well, we made it 20%. We have to make it 15.5. So we just gonna, we need to add the water. That's not the way of making sake. We imagine and decide this is what we want to make. And then to make this, we have to think which type of rice that we should use and how much we need to polish and what kind of yeast that we should use. Is it 1 kind, 2 kinds, 3 kinds? How we going to do it? Like in the one batch, all the yeast were fermented, or like different batches and mix together. And all those things that we have to plan of, we back calculate. We have to come up first what we want to make. And then to make this, what we have to do.
And obviously, Hakkaisan is one of Niigata's most celebrated and I think successful sake breweries.
Thank you.
So what distinguishes the sake that you're producing from others?
Hakkaisan really do make our sake high quality. And, what we makes a good sake, high quality sake is different from brewery to brewery. We make very balanced sake, meaning that, there is no wow factor in terms of aroma and taste, but it is balanced. We believe that sake needs to be the sidekick of the dining experiences. We were not the center of the attention. There are food and there are people in the conversation, and the sake is there to enhance the entire experience of the dining.
What type of sakes does Hakkaisan produce?
Well, we do produce Futsushu, Honjozo, which are our table sake, which is our 80% of the entire production of Hakkaisan. Oh, really? So if you know Hakkaisan, these are the labels that you think of as Hakkaisan. And everything else is, Junmai Ginjo, Junmai Daiginjo, Daiginjo. We do have namazake, seasonal namazake.
Just to again jump back there, because you used some terminology there that people might not be familiar with, but are really important. Yeah. So there's two I want to focus on. Junmai Daiginjo. Can you just explain quickly what that is?
Yes, Junmai Daiginjo. Well, Daiginjo is the classification of how much we polish the sake rice. Anything after 50%, if you come down to 50% or more, we can call it Daiginjo. And Junmai is the pure rice sake, which means that we do not add the brewer's alcohol in the end of the process. So anything that we put brewer's alcohol, there is no Junmai. So we have Honjojo, Ginjo, Daiginjo, those are the ones that have a brewer's alcohol in it.
Yes, and the reason I kind of asked about that is that I think Junmai Daiginjo, they're very clean, they're very refined sakes. They're a good place to start if you're looking for something which is very easy to drink, typically quite light. Would you agree? I think Junmai Daiginjo is good to know. The other end of that spectrum is namazake. Can you explain what namazake is?
Yes. Well, namazake is the ones that there is no heat treatment, meaning there is still yeast actively working. And if you ship out namazake, you would like to ship out the namazake to be fresh. And so very vibrant and very young and maybe like a little bit of frizzy, sharp, sharpness of the alcohol is still there. So it's very opposite type of sake.
Yes, as you mentioned, they're unpasteurized. Most sakes are pasteurized. Namazakes are not, so they have a much shorter shelf life.
Exactly.
And as you've described, they're a bit more kind of rough and ready in terms of the impact that you have when drinking them. I really like them. Actually, I'm a big fan. So I always seek them out because often they're quite seasonal because they have that short life that you're going to find them available after the winter and then they disappear through the rest of the year.
Yeah,
they reemerge each winter when they're being brewed.
Yes, because not just us, but I think every brewery, released the namazake. We need to make sure that all the distribution from our brewery to your table needs to be refrigerated, basically. So, we have to make sure our truck is refrigerated or, it has to be the winter time to distribute without the, refrigerated truck distribution.
Yeah, which I imagine makes them quite hard to export.
Exactly. But Hakkaisan, we only have a business with and distribute through the companies who will be able to get the refrigerated container.
So that's a nice lead in to your most famous, or I think for me, certainly your most celebrated and most unique sake. It's your Yukimuro, which is a snow-aged sake. Can you tell me a little bit about that, please?
So this Yukimuro sake is, snow-aged sake. As we said, snow-aged. The sake is aged in snow. And the Minami Wonuma, as we mentioned, that we have a lot of snow falling area. So we decided to use the snow as a natural resource of maturing sake. So we decided to build this huge snow warehouse after the tsunami and the earthquake happened back in 2011. Many breweries were affected, and that disaster actually stops the electricity for a few months. And so a lot of breweries has to just trash all the sake that they were storing. So it was a great, effect to a lot of breweries. And so we decided to create the snow storage where that we have a lot of snow to do so without using the electricity. And that was the inspiration for us to build the building. And what's inside is that we have two sections in the warehouse. One section contains 1,000 metric tons of snow sitting in the one side, and we have the mesh metal wall. And the other side, we have the stainless steel tank for the maturity of the sake. And so the sake will be sitting there quietly for 3 years. And this 3-year does is that during the maturity, the umami is concentrated, and all the sharp edges are out. So the sake became very mellow, more fragrant, and it gives the depth in the flavor.
It's pretty amazing when you visit, and you can visit if you go to the brewery. You can actually join a tour to go into the snow storage. It's a vast building with this mountain of snow piled up against those barrels. It's pretty striking. You mentioned to me also before that this is not only was it done out of necessity or after following the earthquake and tsunami, but actually snow storage has a long history in Niigata.
Yeah, absolutely. Before refrigerator came into your house, we have to do something about our food storage. And so in Niigata, in Muonama particularly, not to really store the food, but store the snow itself throughout the year. And so what happens is that they will pile up in a mountain of snow and then covered with the rice straw and then make a good insulation. So then it will not melt during the summertime. And the owner of the snow mountain can, cut in pieces of the snow and then sold to the fish markets, to the vegetable markets, or whoever they needed, maybe the sushi shops, and all sorts of different places. That has been the culture of Minami Wonuma. So Hakkaisan bring that culture revival to use the snow to store our sake.
So Shoko, obviously you're a member of the international sales team for the brewery, and I know that Hakkaisan is having a lot of success outside of Japan as much as it's having success in Japan. So is the Yukimuro, is your snow-aged sake being exported to other countries? And if so, where can listeners get their hands on it?
Yes, absolutely. We do ship out the Yukimuro snow-aged 3 years Rumai Daiginjo to United States and Australia. We do sell to some European nations. We have in France, England, Italy, Norway, Switzerland, and maybe more. Maybe I'm leaving some of them out, but in Asian countries as well, Taiwan, Hong Kong, Singapore, Malaysia, Thailand.
A lot of my listeners are in the United States, Australia, and Europe. They're going to find the Hakkaisan sake in restaurants or it's in stores?
Yes, most of the time that you can find Hakkaisan sake in the restaurants. For the listeners in the United States, the East Coast, we have many wine shops carries our sake, and the West Coast as well in LA.
And also of interest to me, not only are you producing your sake, you're also producing beer. which
Yes.
as a beer drinker, that's pretty good. And under the name of Raiden beer. Can you just go into a little bit of detail about the beers that you're making?
Yes. So, Hakkaisan has been making this craft beer over 25 years, and the Raiden is the name coming from the water that we use to brew sake, and also the beer is called the water of God Raiden, and not exactly Raiden, but God Raiden is as a word, it was already taken by some other company. So we have to come up with another name. And we really wanted to use our water resource, which is beautiful Minami Wonoma water. So we came up with Raiden.
And there's a bit more of a story to that name, right?
Yeah, absolutely. So this famous band in music band in Japan is called YMO, and Mr. Ryuichi Sakamoto is the main composer of this band, and they produced the famous song called Riding. And of course, we were in a different industry, so sake brewery to use the Riding is not really interfere with the music Riding, but it's exactly the same name. So we were wondering if they find out that somebody else is using their name. But we happen to have, one of the business trip that my boss made to New York. He had the sample bottles of this beer in his pocket and went to this bar. He happened to meet the Mr. Ryuichi Sakamoto himself.
Just totally by chance, so he was there.
Totally by chance. And so he decided to approach him and introduce himself and told him that, we started to releasing this beer and it is the name of your song. And we already made this beer, so we cannot change it, but we would like to have your grace. And then he said, absolutely, please go ahead. So
that's a fantastic story. Very prominent musician, and YMO are just as popular outside of Japan as they are in Japan.
Oh.
So yeah. Fantastic. So in terms of your range of beers, which beers are you producing, and are you doing anything seasonal for 2024?
Yes, absolutely. We have IPA, Pilsner, Weizen, it's a white beer, Alt, it's a little bit roasted beer, and we have Koji Belgian. We use koji into our beer production. And so those fives are the year-round production. And for the seasonal, we have a spring pale ale, summer IPA session IPA, and then fall, I forgot.
Irish red ale?
Yes.
Yeah, I'm a fan.
Ding, ding. Yes. Irish red ale. And in the winter, the porter.
Your porter's good too.
Thank you.
So all of your beers are good, but let me just recommend three there. I'm not a massive IPA fan, but your summer IPA sessions, really fantastic, actually.
Thank you.
I wish you guys did that all year round. And your Irish red ale, and again your porter. Hakkaisan has a fantastic facility called Unuma no Sato, at which you have the sake brewery, you have a tap room, multiple restaurants. Shoko, can you give us a little bit more detail about Unuma no Sato? Exactly what's there and how do people get there?
Unuma no Sato is located about half an hour by car from Echigo Yuzawa Shinkansen station. And unfortunately, there is no direct public transportation from Echigo Yuzawa station to Unuma no Sato. So you will either take a cab or you will rental car to drive up to us. And the Unuma no Sato, just like Peter mentioned, we do have several restaurants, particularly traditional soba restaurant, the buckwheat noodle restaurant, and actually we do have a steakhouse.
Yes, actually, sorry, I've eaten there. Yes.
Yes, steakhouse there. And also the beer brewery has a tap room with beer pairing food like burgers.
And there's also a tasting station for your sakes, which I've
Yes,
visited
absolutely.
many times.
When you go to snow storage, Yukimuro, you will have a sign up sheet every half an hour from 10 o'clock in the morning until I believe three in the afternoon or so. You will sign up to it, and then you will do the tour of the snow storage. And the end of the tour, there is a tasting counter for Hakkaisan product.
Tours are in Japanese, I imagine?
Tours in Japanese, unfortunately.
But that shouldn't prohibit people joining, because I think just actually
Not at
experience it
all.
anyway. And a lot of it,
Not at all.
Yeah, a lot of it comes across, I think, in the explanation anyway.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I really recommend anyone who's in the area to get down there. The brewery is also very nearby one of the hidden gems of Japan's ski resorts in Hakkaisan. Very easy to remember the name of the ski resort. It's exactly the same name as the brewery.
Mm-hmm.
Fantastic ski resort, especially if you're an upper intermediate or advanced skier or snowboarder. One of my favorites, massive powder, just fantastic. Listen on, because after we speak today, I'm going to provide a bit of information after about the ski resort for anyone who's interested. But not only do you have Uruma no Sato, it's been operating for quite a few years now, but it's my understanding that in recent years, Hakkaisan has expanded out a little bit, quite notably, by opening a distillery in Hokkaido.
Yes,
and a project in the United States. So yeah, can you give me a little bit of detail about those?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, we decided to build the distillery in Niseko, Hokkaido, targeting to the, international crowds, as well as that area's, temperature differences throughout the year and then throughout the day is really wonderful condition for the whiskey maturity. So the company decided to bring the distillery up there.
So when will the whiskey be on sale?
Good question. We don't know. Nobody knows. Only God knows. Yes. We definitely would like to release something is good. We do not want to release just because that we were able to mature for 3 years.
Right.
So we're gonna taste and see how it goes. It could be 5 years, 10 years. 20 years. So meantime, we were releasing gin. Yes. It's called Ohoro gin. Ohoro is the Ainu indigenous word is continue. We would like to become a Niseko's local distillery, not Niigata Sake Brewery comes to Niseko and starting to do the new business. We want to become part of their culture, part of their life.
I'll include links on the episode page today for Hakkaisan's website and also the website for the distillery. But also, very interestingly, prior to speaking today, you also mentioned to me that you have a new exciting project happening in the United States.
Yes. So Hakkaisan now has the U.S. business partner in Brooklyn, New York. They are local sake brewers. Then we discover about each other and became friends. And, we share values. We share the same vision of the future of sake. And we decided to partner up in the business as well. So now we are building the new facility in Industry City, Brooklyn, New York, where that we can have a larger size of the sake production. And attached to it, we have a sake tap room. And in the sake tap room, we are offering sake education. So we do have a brewery, tap room, and a sake education center.
This is already operating?
Yes. Well, the tap room and the education center are operated. The brewery is up and coming pretty soon.
That sounds fantastic. So if anyone wanted more information about the tasting room and the new brewery that's coming along in Brooklyn, where can they go to?
You can go to brooklynkura.com. about the Brooklyn Kura's latest information about the tap room openings and the class that they were offering. And as for Hakkaisan, you can go to hakkaisan.co.jp.
Links will be in the show notes on the episode page. I'll also put on your Instagram, obviously a fantastic way to keep up to date with what's happening. So it sounds like exciting times for the brewery. I'm no doubt keeping you very busy.
Yes.
And on that note, I want to say, Shoko, a very big thank you for making time to speak with me today. I have no doubt that
you're very welcome. You're very welcome. Pleasure is all mine.
Yeah, I do encourage everyone to get their hands on your fantastic sake and beer. And for anyone who's in Niigata, to make that, it's a tiny amount of effort to get there. You won't regret it. And I said, listen on after this. I'll give you some information about the ski resort. So, Shoko, thank you so much. And
thank you.
All the best.
Yes, thank you.
That's it for today's episode and season 2 of the podcast. Another very big thank you to Shoko and the brewery for agreeing to our interview. As I think is obvious, I'm a big fan of Hakkaisan's sake and beer and looking forward to getting my hands on the gin and whiskey coming out of Niseko. And you never know, maybe finding my way to Brooklyn somehow. Hakkaisan's website is hakkaisan.co.jp. It's in Japanese, but you can click through to their international website using the top menu. Niseko Distillery's website is niseko-distillery.com, while Brooklyn Kura is simply brooklynkura.com. All have accounts on Instagram. Check out the episode page on the Snow Country Stories Japan website or the show notes on your pod app for links to each. Now, as promised, let's talk the ski resort. Muikamachi Hakkaisan Ski Resort is less than 15 minutes drive from the brewery's Unomunosato facility and around 40 minutes drive from the Shinkansen station of Echigo Yuzawa. Sitting between 355 to 1,147 meters, so pretty low, the resort offers a decent enough 790 meters of vertical and a decent pitch of up to 38 degrees. Have a look at the trail map. It's on the episode page, and you'll see that the resort is dominated by a big, long black and red run, serviced by an 80-person ropeway. From the top station, you can drop onto a pretty steep black, an easier but still demanding at points red, or a winding green forest trail that all take you back down to the base station. Its close proximity to the north coast from where the winter snowstorms blow in means that when the powder is big in this part of Niigata, it's huge. Hakkaisan is a resort known for massive dumps of powder. It can actually be too much. I've definitely had that experience when dropping into the run off the top station and boof, not moving again until a very long time later having dug myself literally up and out of the powder. Lots of powder and a decent pitch mean the resort is awesome fun, but also challenging. There's some green and bunny runs at the bottom, which are only really of use to absolute newbies or people with young kids, while the main runs are best suited to upper intermediate and advanced boarders and skiers. The forest trail that snakes down the mountain is great fun if you cut through the trees, but again, this is only for upper intermediate and advanced skiers and boarders. Beginners and lower intermediates should stick to the trail and be careful on the turns, which can be tight with the occasional intimidating drop-off. Side and back country without a guide is prohibited at Hakkaisan. There's differing opinions as to why this ban is in place, when there's an exception for those who are happy to pay for the guide. However, whatever the politics of that are, going outside the resort boundary comes with big risks at Hakkaisan. The side and back country is prone to avalanches, and there are plenty of hazards, including steep and sudden drop-offs and deep ravines. It's my understanding that should you go out and get into trouble without a guide, they won't come looking for you. So this is one resort where you need to follow the rules and stay inside the boundary or get a guide to go out. Given its reputation for big powder and being a bit challenging, and the fact that you need to make a little more effort to get there, Hakkaisan doesn't draw many newbies nor the crowds, which is a big plus. Especially on weekdays, you shouldn't be sharing it with many people at all. It's only 40 minutes drive from Echigo Yuzawa Station, around which you have the multiple resorts of Yuzawa, along with Naiba and Kagura, making it well suited to visitors with their own transport and wanting to hit up different resorts during their stay. Obviously, powder isn't guaranteed, and it has to be said if the powder tap hasn't been turned on, Hakkaisan loses its big appeal as the snow gets chopped up and can be slow. So keep an eye on the forecast and head there when the powder is on. And when it is, a fat board or fat skis and a snorkel are a good idea. Mukimachi Hakkaisan typically operates from mid-December till mid-March. The ropeway also operates between June and November, opening up fantastic hiking, which is at its best during the autumn colours of October and November. A link to the resort website is on today's episode page. The podcast website is snowcountrystories.com, and you can follow the show on Instagram, Facebook, and X by searching Snow Country Stories Japan. And as always, please make sure to subscribe to, rate, review, and share the pod on whichever app you're listening on. It takes no time at all and is a massive help. As mentioned, this is the last episode of Season 2. I'll announce the return date for Season 3 as soon as possible, and in the meantime, look out for those bonus episodes. My name is Peter Carnell. This has been Snow Country Stories Japan. I'll be back soon enough with Season 3. Until then, it's bye for now.